Welcome to the Comic Fix, your one-stop shop for every single theme DC Comics, to some creator-owned, to a little bit Marvel. My name's David, and welcome to the Comic Fix. Now I'm going to start off this week with a book that I had high hopes for at the beginning, and then I found out the writer of it, and I was just like, oh god, this is going to be terrible. And that book is Katana, issue number 1, written by Uncanny. Now you may know her from her Green Arrow, which I just absolutely hated, to now her writing Catwoman, which I absolutely hated, and I dropped both of those books. I was really excited for this book when it first was announced. The reason why is because Katana was a badass under Dwayne Szyszyski's hands in Birds of Prey. So I was really excited for the series, but then I saw the writer and I was just like, oh god, I don't want any part of it. But I picked it up anyways. Just hopefully that this book can be a little bit decent and I can find some enjoyment out of it and keep on reading, because I really like Katana as a character. So I'm reading this book, and off the bat I noticed that the writing is not that bad whatsoever. Uncanny definitely has a hand and a good idea for writing Katana. There's definitely a lot of symbolisms in this book, which is pretty freaking awesome. The artwork in here, on the other hand, is meh, kind of. It seems like that DC Comics is kind of trying to go for a little bit more edgier with this book and a little different. They're kind of taking a risk with this book. I wonder if that's going to pay off. I don't know, because I don't know how much of a following Katana has on her own. But as you can see from here, it says, from the pages of Justice League of America. Now, I know that Jeff Johns is going to be going on this book, and I think this book is pretty freaking awesome. So hopefully once the Justice League of America comes on and they see how much of a badass Katana is, they'll go and pick up this book, because it's actually worth it. Now the storyline is Katana. She is trying to figure out basically the mystery of her sword. Now this sword, she hears the voice of her husband. Little bit you find out the mystery that the katana that she wields is the Soul Keeper. I believe that's what they call it. It is a sword that whoever gets killed by it, their soul gets taken into that sword, and whoever wields the sword can hear the voices of that person. Well, the little twist is that Katana's sword was the sword that killed her husband, so she hears the voice of her husband. Now there are times in there where we don't really know if this is actually fact. It may be just that Katana's going crazy. Now that's the mystery part. There is also a little bit of tie-ins with the Outsiders and a little bit hints of her trying to find the Outsiders, which is pretty freaking awesome. Because that was one book that I really, really enjoyed, was Batman and the Outsiders. It'll be awesome to see the new way that they're presented in the New 52. So surprisingly, this book had a lot to offer, and I am in it for now. I usually give every single New 52 book at least 3 issues to give me something that I want so I can keep on going on. And I actually think that this is an Uncanny book I'm actually going to enjoy and read on from here on out. So it was a pretty good issue. I'm going to give it a thumbs up. It definitely had some setup for all the stuff that Uncanny wants to do. And David Finch's art on the cover is freaking beautiful. But just don't be expecting this type of artwork in the book. You can see on here that the artwork is a little different, as I said at the beginning. It has a little bit of an edge to it, and it's definitely that DC's trying to experiment with this book. And I really like the artwork. I believe that Uncanny and this artist really do match up very well. Especially in the scene where we see Katana going to sleep, and then she's having sex with some guy, and you find out that is her husband. And the symbolism in there where the blood is just dripping down on Katana's head, and you see that little dot that we see on her. It's right there. Just awesome stuff like that. I'm going to give this book a thumbs up. Definitely go and check it out. So starting off with another #1 issue, we got Uncanny XMen issue #1 by Marvel Comics. Now, if you guys haven't been reading All New X-Men, go and read it. So Brian Michael Bendis, who is the writer of All New X-Men and Uncanny X-Men, is basically having these 2 books going down the same path and telling the same exact story, but in different points of views. And Uncanny X-Men is taking the point of view of Cyclops and his group. Now, every single time that Cyclops has been portrayed in All New X-Men, it has been basically him going and finding and rescuing a mutant that just found out they have powers. So we get that same storyline here, but with a twist. So we start out the story in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s agent's headquarters, where Agent Hills is going to go and interview somebody in Cyclops' group. And as this person, this mystery person, is being interviewed or interrogated, he is telling the story of Cyclops and how he's broken down. And he's telling Hills, this is how you take this person down. Now, on the streets, Cyclops may be a god, but you have to portray him as this broken down individual. He has been broken mentally, physically, and spiritually. Show him as this broken down person, you can destroy him right now at his weakest point. And as you're going through the story, the middle half of this book is stuff that I've seen a lot in Brian Michael Bendis' All New X-Men, where Cyclops is going and rescuing a new mutant. That storyline was not all that great. The artwork in here was okay. Coloring was okay. But at the end, where you got the twist of finding out who this individual is in Cyclops' group who's betraying them, yeah, it's pretty big. And it made me go, oh my god, I cannot wait for issue number 2 and see how this is going to play out. So, what can I say about issue number 1 is that it was a little bit of setup, a little bit of things you've seen before. But in the end, I'm just going to give Uncanny X-Men issue number 1. It's just in limbo. It's not an up, it's not a down. It's just in limbo, it's in between. It could be a really good series, but it just doesn't have that greatness that All New X-Men has right now. The next book just ripped my heart out. It was just, oh my god, just reading this book, just finding out what the Joker did, and that is Batman issue number 17. Reading this book, wow. I don't want to ruin anything for you guys, so I'm just going to get down to... Oh, God, I went away from the internet. I was like, I'm not going to look up in-comic book websites because I don't want anything to ruin this issue. Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, have been doing Death of the Family now for about 5 months. 5 or 6 months. And the end is here. This issue will just amaze you. I mean, it will grip you. Every single panel, you just fear the next page of what the Joker has done. Wow. Just wow. This is definitely the best issue of Batman to date. I mean, even issue number 5, where you had the issue where everything was going crazy and you're turning the book. But I don't know, something about this issue. Last month, we were just getting all these teases about what is under the veil. What did the Joker do? We figure out in this book, and it is so Joker-esque. I love this issue. I love it. I just love this from beginning to end. Best issue I've read this year. I have never been so afraid by just flipping to the next page, not wanting to know what's going on or what's going to happen. But then there's that curious part in your brain that says, I gotta keep on going. And when I go, and when I read the next panel after the next, god damn, I love this book. Best issue by far this whole entire year. Oh, man. This is the Joker of this... Yeah. I have never read a Joker story almost as brutal as this one, and how psychological this whole entire book is. I'm not going to ruin anything about the story. It's something you have to come and read and find out. I absolutely love the cover. It's a beautiful Greg Capullo cover. The questions that are questioned in this book. Oh. Everything is answered. Everything is tied up so beautifully. This left me wanting so much more. I can't wait to see where Scott Snyder's going to go from here, because I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know. I know the next big story arc is going to be a Riddler story. I don't know. I remember listening to Comic Vine, and Scott Snyder was on there, and he was talking about this issue. And he was saying that he cannot wait to go back and to do the Joker once again. I love this story. I love this book. This book is getting a thumbs up with haul worthy, or put on your pull list. This is actually the first one that I've put on my pull, that I said is pull worthy this whole entire week. Oh God, it's just beautiful, beautiful stuff. Go and pick this book up. You'll be thanking me. Man, I know that the next book is not going to be as satisfying as that great issue that Scott Snyder did with Batman, issue number 17. So the next one I'm going to be reviewing is the Avengers, issue number 17. Last issue, I shat all over that issue. It was just freaking terrible. Now can 17 rectify itself and make it actually something worth reading? Well, earlier this week, this book got canned. So the writer, Michael Allen Nelson, has almost freedom to do whatever he wants, because he knows this thing's going in the can after a couple months. So he has taken his time, and he has basically changed everything up. It used to be about Fairchild and her group and dealing with the Ravengers. Well, now he reversed everything. Now we're following the story of Warblades and Rose Wilson. Yeah. So, what has happened? Last issue, our characters, Rose Wilson and Warblades, were going and trying to contain a test subject. The test subject goes into this small town, blows up, and now all the people around them are radiated from this test subject. And now they're all blowing up, and it's up to Warblades and Rose Wilson to basically fix everything up. Continues on here. Now Fairchild's group gets there, and you think it'll be some big old fight, but no, it's not. It's some terrible banter back and forth. There is some enjoyable parts in there, don't get me wrong, but I just didn't like the flow of this book. The art is off at some points, especially when they portray Beast Boy at times. Like, I don't know. I just looked at Beast Boy over here, I don't know. Just something just felt off about this whole entire issue. And I absolutely hate the subplot of the sheriff and his family and their problems. It's just all melodrama that just doesn't have anything for me. The only great point in there was that Warblades was not acting like the Warblades that we saw last time. Where Warblades in last issue, he was just a whiny little bitch saying, I want to kill everybody, I want to kill everybody. Well, in this issue, he's kind of buckling down, and he's trying to help out the situation as well as he can. And there's this great point where Warblades and one of the police officers are looking for something or another, and the police officer's bitching the whole entire time, and then he finally gets killed. Finally gets killed, and the reply from Warblades was freaking awesome. I actually kind of got a laugh from that. But this is a series that kind of flip-flopped. I don't like it. I am going to stick around to the very end, so I can just say I got a full entire run of Ravengers, whichever, how much ever that's going to count for, I don't know. But it'll just be able to say I got the whole entire run. But I'm sad to see where this book has gone. I really was a big supporter of this book. I was supporting this book quite a bit, telling you guys all about how great it is. And I'm sorry that if you guys actually believed me and jumped on to issue number 8. Because since number 8, this book hasn't been extremely disappointing. I'm going to get more into the disappointment in my video, where I'll be talking about the whole entire week and some of the things I noticed. So, for right now, I have to give the Ravengers issue number 9 thumbs down. Disappointing, disappointing, disappointing. The next book that we're going to be reviewing is Batgirl issue number 17. Now you can notice right off the bat that Gail Simone is not on this issue. She's taking a 2-month break on the series so she can get prepared for the next story arc in the Batman Girl saga. So we have a new writer on here testing out his waters. It seems like when DC has a little break in the writers, they throw new writers in there just to see how their writing style is and if they can have other jobs in the DC world. So that's what we get kind of in this one. The writer takes an interesting perspective. It is all about Barbara Gordon trying to help her father to find Jim Gordon Jr. That storyline, or that thought, is just freaking awesome. You do get a sense of that Barbara Gordon was once Oracle, because you see her behind the desk trying to figure out where her brother's at and trying to get her the information to her father by an alias. It's all freaking awesome. Although there were times though where the story kind of was off at points, where you see Barbara Gordon, she's walking down the street and just like almost a funny moment or like a sitcom moment, she goes and bumps into her love interest in the story, who is the guy that got caught in the bear trap a couple issues ago. Those scenes right there felt really forced, and I didn't feel like the artist represented those scenes as well as it could have. There was also scenes, especially at the end, where we got the big old villain of the story coming in. His scenes in there were just like a U-turn in the whole entire story. At this point, we had just a story of Barbara Gordon trying to find her brother, and it was really, really freaking awesome, though. It was really dark and gritty. But then once the villain comes into the story, I thought the book just fell apart. That's to be blamed on the writer, because he's probably brand new guy, and he just had too much to, he bit too much that he could not chew it all. Hope I said that right. So in the end, I'm going to be giving Batgirl issue number 17. It's not bad, it's not good, it's just in limbo. It's nothing that I'm going to go and be like, oh my god, I got to read the next issue. Unlike the last couple of issues with Gail Simone. Now the next two books I'm going to be talking about are written by one guy, and that one guy is none other than Nick Spencer. I'm going to start off things with Bedlam, issue number 4. Last time I told you guys about Bedlam, I said it was basically Nick Spencer going and telling a Joker story that he never had a chance to do. And it stays true to this issue also. The storyline is that basically a Joker type of figure, Matter Red, has been reformed. He has basically been put back into society as a normal person. And so there's been these mass murders that's been going around, and he wants to help the cops. And the ways that he goes about it are kind of fucked up, but it is freaking awesome to see. So right now we have this Matter Red character going and helping the cops. And he has to meet the Batman type of character. I believe the character's name is the First. And he basically has to help the cops go and find this mass murderer. And as all this is going on, the mass murderer is going and killing everybody. And you figure out why he's doing what he is doing. Now, will Matter Red be able to stop the Bedlam killer? Or will the Bedlam killer be able to get free? Well, you just have to read to find out. The great things about this issue, or about this whole entire series, is other than Nick Spencer's writing, the art by Riley Rosemo and the coloring by Fraser Irving are top notch. This is a time where these three guys are working together in tangent and creating masterful work. There's not times where I was bored in this comic. Everything just flowed together very nicely. One interesting thing I noticed is that this book never tries to wow you with its panel layouts, but it just lets the artwork do its talking. I would be so interested to see where Nick Spencer would actually go and take a character like Batman. You know, he is doing his Batman story, but I would love to see what he actually would do with the character. This book is very original, from the back to the cover to the front of the cover, and it's a book that's going to be asking the hard questions. Now, if you're a person who does not like religion in your book, pass on this book. If you're a person who doesn't like violence in your comics, pass on this book. But if you're a person who likes adult themes and adult questions, you will enjoy this book immensely. I'm going to give this book a big thumbs up and say that it's worthy to be on your pull list. This is the second book this week that got that big old pull list approved. Maybe, just maybe, this book could beat out Batman for pick of the week. Continuing on with the Nick Spencer train, we have Secret Avengers issue number 1. Going into this book, I had no idea what the storyline was about. The only thing that caught my eye in the comic book store was not the cover art. Because if you look at the cover, it just didn't tell me anything that I needed to know. It just looked like a generic cover with Hawkeye and Black Widow and some S.H.I.E.L.D. agents in there. But it was the name Nick Spencer that just caught my eye in the comic book store. Wasn't planning on buying it, but I bought it. So going into it, I didn't know what to expect. But what I knew is that Nick Spencer does fantastic work, especially in his image titles. So I thought, what the hell, I'll give it a try. The storyline is this. Hawkeye has been captured, he has been shot up, and he doesn't know where he's at. All he knows is he's being interrogated by this villain, and he just doesn't know what the hell's going on. So throughout the story, we have Nick Spencer telling us the background to the events that happened to a Hawkeye. And we see that Hawkeye and Black Widow were taken to S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to the S.H.I.E.L.D.'s base. And Nick Fury, Agent Hills, and Agent Coulson basically tell him, we need you to go on this secret mission. And what that secret mission entails, well, you just have to read the book to find out. The great things about this book was just the setup. This whole entire issue was setup. Sometimes when a comic does setup, it doesn't do it very well. Nick Spencer, he does a fantastic job at doing the setup. There are times you really don't know who the bad guy actually is. And does every single thing seem the way that it's shown? Because you just get this feeling that we're not getting the whole entire story. And that sometimes it feels like the Agent S.H.I.E.L.D., the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, were the ones who were betrayed as the bad guys. But I know later on in the story, we're going to see a little bit of a different take about why they're doing what they're doing. I'm very much interested to see where this book's going to go. And for a number 1 issue, it's supposed to get you intrigued. And that's what this book did for me. I'm going to pick up issue number 2, and if issue number 2 keeps on going this way, this book I can definitely see being pull worthy. The art, on the other hand, did nothing really to wow me. It just seemed like some just generic, not generic, but just basic art for comic books. But nothing in the way of like a Batgirl or Batwoman title. So if they get a really good artist on this book, I can see this book being great. Because that's one of the things that Nick Spencer always has in like Bedlam, Morning Glories. He has some great freaking artists. So it's just, the artists in here just didn't really wow me, especially the cover art. I mean, I just really didn't care for it. But I'm intrigued to see where this book's going to go, and I'm going to be giving this book a thumbs up. And God, who knew that I was actually going to be reading all these Marvel titles? I have read Secret Avengers, Uncanny Avengers, the Avengers title, and Young Avengers. I mean, that's 4 books. And I'm a DC guy, but these Avenger titles have been pretty interesting. They all have felt different and unique. So, Secret Avengers, issue number 1, gets a thumbs up. The next book that I'm going to be reviewing is a book that is on the fringes of being canceled. Not by DC Comics, but by me. And that book is none other than Threshold the Hunted, issue number 2. Now the reason why I say that I was just about to drop this whole entire book is because the annual that came out for this book in Green Lantern's The New Guardian was utter crap. And then this book came out the week after that annual. It was better, but not in a way that made me go, oh my god, I have to pick up the next issue. But as I always said, with DC Comics and the New 52, I give each and every new book 3 issues to impress me. So this is the last time this book has to impress me. And did it impress me? Actually, yeah, it actually did. The story felt a lot smoother. The artwork was top notch. I mean, the artwork was there was points in the first issue where you were just like, wow, this artist is awesome. And then you look at his art and it was just like, oh, it kind of dragged a little bit. This one, the artist was good all the way through. The writing was pretty damn good. The storytelling was a whole lot better. Now the storyline is that we have these people that are being hunted. They have a bounty on their head, and anybody who sees them can go and collect that bounty. And so we meet all these different characters in this issue. The beginning with Stealth is freaking awesome. She's a badass. And you just see her in this predicament where she has all these bounty hunters coming at her in her home that she has made. And it's just awesome, though, just to see the artwork being portrayed at this point. And you see her going and just, she's basically put in a corner. And you figure out why she has survived this long. And she goes into like this stealth mode, and this is when the book gets awesome. You see the bounty hunters just basically looking around and being like, we've heard about this person. And what they've told us is that when anybody goes and hunts her, the hunter becomes the hunted. And it's so freaking awesome. She's almost like a rogue. And it's just so freaking awesome just to see the artwork of her just kicking so much ass and killing people. She's not putting anything back. She is basically an animal that's been put into a corner. And whatever comes out is just amazing. I absolutely love the way that the violence is portrayed, and just the way that the purple is really freaking awesome. I really enjoy this character. And if this whole entire book was about this character, Stealth, wow, this book would be freaking awesome. There are also points in there where we get a little bit of the where is the hunted games, how is the marketing of it being done, because this is a big old publicity. This is basically like American Idol, but for just killers. So we get to see that what's happening with this show, The Hunted, is that they noticed that viewership has been going down. So they've been throwing in different type of creatures in there just to get people intrigued. So we see in there Jaime Reyes. Blue Beetle has been thrown into this bunch of killers also. His points was actually pretty well handled. I really enjoyed it. I didn't really read the Blue Beetle series. I thought it went really downhill after issue number 14, so I left the book. But to see where Jaime Reyes is at now, you're like, oh my god, he's in trouble. And kind of makes me want to go back and hunt down the last couple issues of Blue Beetle just to figure out how he got to where he's at. But definitely the writer does take a point to let you know what happened in the other series and how Jaime got there. I really enjoyed this book. Surprisingly, I thought all the characters were handled very well, and you got more of a sense of the world. You also got to meet a new character, or a reimagining of an old character. I believe his name was K-Rot, and he's this like weird looking bunny character. I don't know, he's pretty psychotic, and I actually really enjoyed his scenes in there. They're quite twisted. I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy or whatnot, but I'm intrigued. I really did not think that. I thought this book would be the last book that would be just tossing it aside and not looking back. But after this issue, I am glad to say I'm going to pick up issue number 3, because I do believe that Keith Giffen actually has a story to tell. I heard he's really, really good with telling space stories. So I'm interested to see where he's going to take this book. And you also have Larflee's backup in here. And Larflee's backup is worth the $3.99 price tag. To see Larflee's, who just had all of his stuff taken, and how he's trying to get it back is freaking awesome. I laughed my head off in some of the scenes in here. There's which scene was it? There's one scene where this guy that was writing Larflee's book he was like, "You have no idea what authorities do you?" It has never come up before. Do they catch criminals? On occasion, yes. Then that is good enough for Larfleeze. Come, let's be on our way. And I just love the artwork with Larfleeze. The way that Keith Giffen writes Larfleeze is freaking awesome. I never thought I would have this much excitement reading this book. The first issue, the god-awful annual that came out of this. And it's to note, Keith Giffen had no hands-on with that annual that came out. It was by a different writer. I believe it was by a different writer. So, Keith Giffen, you have me on for one more issue, and I give this book a thumbs up. And that's amazing, because the last 2 issues, I was like, thumbs down. But this one, thumbs up. Roger, go and check this book out. I think you may like it. Keeping on with great old Image, we have The End Times of Bram and Ben, issue number 2. Now, issue number 1, when I reviewed it, I said that book was freaking fantastic. Even though it could be on the dark humor side, a little bit too far sometimes. Well, with issue number 2, it kind of went a little bit not so far on the crude humor, but more focused on the story. Now, what is the story? Alright, so in issue number 1, we had Bram and Ben going on through the day, and then the rapture happened. Bram got sent up to heaven, and God made a mistake. Bram is a terrible person, so he sends him back down. And when that happens, Bram is like, F you, God, you're a dick. And so we got some crude humor going on, and we see the world after the rapture. Well, Bram finally gets a camera in front of his face, and he tells the world he's going to be a candidate for the Antichrist. And so in issue number 2, we get the consequences of that. The humor is freaking fantastic in this book. Every single panel, the way that the layouts are, it works. This is definitely a book where a writer and an artist definitely take their time, and they got a great story to tell. Now, if you did not know, when this writer and this artist tried to pitch this idea to a bunch of old different companies, nobody would take them on their offer. Only one that did was good old Image Comics. What we get here is a fantastic miniseries. Definitely a miniseries that's going to be contender for miniseries of the year. If you like great comics that have a little bit of a controversy in them and don't mind religion in your comics, you will seriously enjoy this book. This book is going to sometimes push a little bit too hard, but it's definitely a fun ride. And the humor works. And how many times can you really say in a comic that the humor actually works? So in the end Times of Bram and Ben are going to get a big old thumbs up and say that it's pull-worthy. Now the next book I'm going to be reviewing is from DC Comics. That is Demonites, issue number 17. Now with issue number 16 was the first time in Robert Vendetti's run on Demonites. And the storyline is taking place 30 years after the events of Demonites issue 1 through 15. So, Robert Vendetti has a lot to cover over these 30 years. Basically, in the first 2 issues, he's just still setting up the story. Now, the storyline is actually pretty awesome, and I can't wait to see where it's going to go. What we have Cain, the first vampire, basically going into the countryside and taking over and making new vampires. He's making vampires out of whole cities. So, we have the Demonites try and get back together so they can fight Cain. There's also some awesome points in there with Jason Blood. You can see him on the cover here in the Etrigan. Now Jason Blood, he needs to call on the name of Etrigan to basically summon the demon. And he's the powerhouse of the whole Demonites crew. They know that the way that they have to destroy Cain is they have to have Etrigan on their side. But there's been a twist. Jason Blood cannot call out the name Etrigan because he has been put upon him a spell. Now this spell, he cannot talk. There's just this awesome way that the representation of the spell is that you just see skin over his mouth. It's kind of chilling actually just to see the way that they portray that in this book. And you also have Randall Savage in here. Who is Savage in this book? He is basically torturing Jason Blood for the events that took place 30 years ago. I really like the setup in this whole entire series, and it makes me actually interested to go back and read the first 2 volumes of Demon Knights to get what the whole entire story of with that was played out before. The only downside is it's still setup. But other than that, this book is pretty damn good. And also has a character that which I really am starting to love. It's becoming one of my favorite female characters in all of DC Comics, and that is Horsewoman. Now her powers is she's able to talk to horses. And basically she's almost like a horse goddess. But the catch is that she's crippled. So she needs to basically have her spirit attached to a horse, so she's able to talk to him and whatnot. And to see that a character who is basically crippled, and to see how well portrayed she is and how that her disability does not define her is freaking awesome. And the moments that she has in this book, it's just so freaking fantastic. This is a book that's definitely on the up and up. I really enjoy it. I'm definitely going to be coming back for issue number 18 and see where the book goes from here. So Demon Knights issue number 17 will definitely get a thumbs up from me. Not yet is it pull worthy, just because the storyline hasn't really picked up as much as I really wanted to. But maybe, just maybe, issue number 18 will be the point where this book will become pull worthy. The next book that I'm going to be reviewing is a book that just wowed me last month. This book just surprised the freaking hell out of me. That is Todd The Uglies Kid on Earth, issue number 2. Issue number 1 was so freaking fantastic with how crazy everything was and how ugly the world was around Todd. So can issue number 2 live up to the hype? First off, I gotta say this cover is freaking beautiful, and it's a little bit of homage to The Walking Dead issue number 48. Which is just, look at that cover. I mean, that cover is so freaking awesome. And you just see the guy crying. You're just like, there's so much to this cover that you're just like, I cannot wait to read what's inside. Now, last time we left off Todd, he has been basically put in prison for mass murders that he did not commit. Now, one thing you gotta understand about Todd. Todd is a kid, and everything around him is just so ugly, but he just has this innocence to him. So, in the whole premise of the book, you don't expect really anything serious. Do you get anything serious in this issue? Not all that much. Are the jokes in here as well done as they were in the first issue? No. The execution of the jokes in here, they were pretty lackluster, to say the least. I did really enjoy the art on the other hand. Art throughout the book was freaking awesome. I just loved just the way that the whole book flowed. It flowed very nice, and just the whole pacing was pretty freaking awesome. So we just see Todd in the prison, and everything is just like how we saw it in the first issue. Everything is so dark around Todd, but he still has this innocence about him. And it's just really nice to see this childlike person being in this dark, dark world. And you definitely see that he is sheltered little kid. But as he goes through the prison scene, I don't know, just nothing really clicked for me. There was the old rapist guy that got a love letter, or took a love letter away from Todd, and those whole scenes in there didn't really work as well as they could have. And then there's the scenes, of course, there will be a scene in the shower. I don't know, just nothing really flowed in this book. And the one problem that I really had with the issue was the point where the mother, she goes to the bar before she goes to, I guess, post bail for her kid. And she's at the bar and she's explaining to the person that's behind the bar, just, you know, her problems through the day and how her son got put in jail. Now, at this point, I never really questioned, you know, why he got put in jail, but the writer does have the bar person basically say, wait, your son's in jail? Why is he in jail? Why is he not in juvie? those whole scenes and that whole question just was not something I was expecting the book to answer or even to question in the first place. I was just going with the flow with it. But at that point, I don't know, just the way the world worked in here just didn't really mesh. Nothing really meshed in this book. I mean, the jokes didn't really work. The artwork was actually really beautiful, just as beautiful as its cover. And there wasn't any scene in there that I'm going to say that I'm going to remember. Like, in the first issue, there are so many scenes. Like, my favorite scene in there is, first off, it's where Todd meets the murderer, serial killer, and that scene in there was just so freaking awesome, where the serial killer is about to go kill Todd, but he wants to know what's under the bag, and he lifts up the bag, and he's like, oh my god, and he puts it back down, and to the point where the murderer goes and kills a frog, and you see the frog, and you see Todd just being like, oh, I love this frog, or, hey, buddy, and then you see Axe about to go, and you see the frog go, oh, shit! I mean, there was none of those scenes in this book. I love the first issue, which is so freaking awesome. And I'm sad to say I was disappointed about this book. This book I was as excited for as I would say for issue number 17 of Batman. That's how excited I was for this issue. And then to have this issue be lacking in the comedy department makes me want to go back and read issue number 1. Now, for Todd the Ugliest Kid in the World, issue number 2... I'm not going to give it a thumbs down because the art was really there and there's still potential in this character. So for issue number 2, I'm going to give it's in limbo. It's in the middle ground. There's no up or down. It's just in the middle. And I say to everybody, go read. If you go find issue number 1, go read issue number 1 because you're in for a damn good time. Issue number 2 is lacking, and maybe issue number 3 can bring it back up to what it was issue number 1. Continuing on with the good times, we have 4 more comics, and let's keep things rolling with Suicide Squad issue number 17. Now, Adam Glass, a couple days ago, he announced that DC Comics is taking him off of Suicide Squad. And with that, he went on to say that he loved working with Harley Quinn, and he hopes one day that he'll be working with her once again. Personally, I think he did a beautiful job with Harley Quinn. And there's a lot of people that dislike what he did, so I'm going to be doing a separate video on the Who's Who of the New 52 with Adam Glass and what he did with Harley Quinn. So look forward to that in a couple of days. So, in this issue, or with Suicide Squad in general, it's always been on the medium ground, but it's always been a book that I've really just enjoyed. It's been a guilty pleasure. Now, this issue, on the other hand, was freaking fantastic. It was almost as good as the first issue of Suicide Squad. In here, we get a character, Yo-Yo, who's been throughout the book, but never in the focus, the main person of the book. In here, you get his origin, but better than that, you just get some great character moments from him. Yo-Yo's like Mr. Fantastic, where he can go and stretch for days, or like the Elegant Man. I just love the way he works. There's this awesome part where he just goes into some guy's nose and just stretches his fingers and just kills a guy like that way, and it's just a little disgusting. But I just love the way how Adam Glass worked this book. There is a lot of violence, and there's a point in there where you see King Shark going and ripping a ninja's or samurai's hands off, and you see Harley Quinn going and using her big old hammer thing and just going and bashing down somebody's face and their head ripped off. There's a lot of violence in this book, but it's all in that comic book fun. There's some scenes in there where it just seems like ripped out of a Quentin Tarantino movie, and you're just like, it's so over the top, but it works. There's one of my favorite scenes is where they go into an elevator and they hear a Chinese version of some Nirvana song. And the dialogue in there was perfect for it. I absolutely loved that scene. This book had some great scenes all the way through. And there was one point in there with Harley Quinn where you're just like, oh my god. He's doing some awesome stuff with her, and this is going to be interesting to see where it's going to go. And I'm really sad to see that he's going to be taken off the book. This book was freaking fantastic. If you're a person who loves Chinese, kung fu movies, loves Quentin Tarantino, loves some great dialogue, just fun action. Look no further than Suicide Squad. This book is never the book that's going to be wowing you or never going to be up for any awards. But this issue in particular, I enjoyed all the way through. I love the character moments. I love the artwork. Damn, I love this issue. So Suicide Squad issue number 17 is going to get a thumbs up. And it's going to say it's pool worthy. I don't think I've ever said that about a Suicide Squad book. But damn, was this good issue fun. And it made me love comics all that much more. So thumbs up. And I'm saying it's pool worthy. The next book that I'm going to be reviewing is Batman and Robin, issue number 17. If there's one thing that Hawkeye taught me, is that one-shots can be so fantastic in comic book form. And that's what we're getting here. Easily, Peter Tomasi can easily put a throwaway story after the events of Death of the Family. But no, he takes his time and he tells a wonderful one-shot of what happened the night after the death of the family. Basically, let's say Batman, Robin, and Alfred go to bed after the big old fiasco with the Joker. They all have nightmares, and in here we get to see what those nightmares are about. I love the representation from each and every character. From Robin having a dream sequence where you see him and you see another Damian Wayne. And one of them is represented by Bruce Wayne. The other one is representation of Ra's al Ghul. Those scenes are freaking fantastic. And you just get this great horror element out of it. One of the things that I think that Pat Gleason does very well is just how he has a little bit of a suspense to his artwork. And just the way he portrays those type of scenes are freaking awesome. And I especially like the way sometimes he will have the black eyes in some of the scenes. I really do enjoy his artwork. I think the thing that took the cake in this whole entire issue, though, was when you got to go into Alfred's dream. And Alfred is the one in Death of the Family that got the most abuse. I mean, just seeing the effed up things or hearing about the effed up things that Joker did to him. Well, in here you get to see in his dream, the Joker is basically killing Batman and the family. And who is there but Alfred? Alfred's like, F this, I'm going to do what Batman never would do. And you're just like, what would Alfred do? He gets out a freaking shotgun. And I just love this art. This is a splash page right here. Just, oh my god, this was when I knew that this book was fantastic. And he shoots off the head of the Joker. I absolutely love this scene. Everything about this issue was so great. Easily Peter Tomasi could just put a throwaway story after the big old events of Death of the Family. But no, he put his heart into it. He told a very interesting story that is a one-shot. This is a perfect point to jump on to the Batman and Robin train. If you want a good time in your comics, look no further than the Batman and Robin issue number 17. I'm going to give it a thumbs up and say this pool worthy. And maybe, just maybe, this book can beat out Batman for the pick of the week. But you never do know. Maybe the next book that I'm going to be reviewing is going to take the place of pick of the week. The final book for this week in reviews is Star Wars issue number 2 by Brian Wood. This issue in this series by Brian Wood feels so natural into the Star Wars mythos, especially in what George Lucas did in episode 4, 5, and 6. It feels so natural, and I just eating everything up that Brian Wood is doing in this story. I love how the representation of somebody like Luke Skywalker. Now, Luke Skywalker has just destroyed the Death Star. And you think that somebody who did that, especially as a kid, would be a cocky little son of a bitch. And that's what you get in here. You're getting a little bit of a different representation from all these different characters. The only bad thing I could say about this single issue is that it still feels like setup. Yes, we are getting put into the Star Wars universe that we all know and love, but Brian Wood is a little bit taking his time in the story, and I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. There are a little bit of hints of Boba Fett in here, which it feels kind of like the way that George Lucas did Boba Fett, especially in Empire Strikes Back, where you just saw him just for a glimpse. And that's what you get here. You just see his Boba Fett's ship as the Millennium Falcon is basically going to go do I don't know what. There's also the main storyline that's going on with Princess Leia trying to find out who is the mole inside of her group. That is basically just starting up, and I can say for certain that Star Wars issue number 2, if you cannot find issue number 1, this is a good point to jump on. Good point to jump on. It's definitely an issue where it kind of gives you all the things you need to know to move on with the story. I absolutely love the artwork in here, even though some of the people can look a little bit too pretty compared to what they used to look like, and I don't think that Han Solo looks like the Han Solo I remember from the movies. But, you know, it's just this artist's representation of the characters that we all know and love. One of the great things I like about the series, it feels like Brian Wood is giving so much respect to the source material, but he's not feeling like he's a slave to it. I'm interested to see where this is going to go. This is a Star Wars title. I'm actually saying go out and pick it up. And that's actually amazing for me, because really I have been burnt too many times by Dark Horse's Star Wars books that I really didn't feel like picking them up. But after seeing on the comic book shelves Alex Ross cover, I was like, hell yes. And then I looked at Brian Wood. Oh, hey, I like Brian Wood. I'll pick it up. I think everyone else should pick this book up. I'm going to give it a thumbs up, but not yet is it pull-worthy, just because I don't believe that the storyline has moved forward enough to make it that this book is actually pull-worthy. But if you want a Star Wars book and you don't know where to look because there are a lot out there, look no further than just Star Wars. And you will be set on a great path. This book, I can't wait to see where it's going to go, because I don't know where it's going to go. Yes, I do know what happens in episode 5, but I cannot wait to see where Brian Wood's going to take this story. And I love what he's doing with Princess Leia and making her this badass. So, Star Wars issue number 2 is going to get a thumbs up. And thank you for watching this comic book reviews. Next video, I'm going to be doing my pick of the week. And the contenders for pick of the week are none other than Batman and Robin, Batman, Bedlam, In Times of Bram and Ben, and the surprisingly book this week, Suicide Squad issue number 17. So, which one of these will be pick of the week? Well, you have to figure out in the next video. And always, you guys can follow me on Twitter at FalconXXL. And I would love to hear your guys' comments. Do you guys like this new little format that I'm doing? It's more condensed reviews, but in one bigger video. Because I'm thinking about doing a video where I go more in depth about certain things that happen in this comic book week, but keeping my reviews and the reviews part shorter and to the point. That's what I'm trying to do, and maybe, just maybe, this will come the new format, because I'm trying to evolve as I get these crazy ideas. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time on the Comic Fix with the pick of the week.